Okay, welcome in, one and all. I'm now going to be reviewing all of Thursday night's action in the NHL. There were 13 games on tap, so let's dive right into her. Starting with the teams you see on their screen, respectively, between the Los Angeles Kings and the Montreal Canadiens. The Kings, who have been absolutely red hot on the road, just made history, I do believe, after winning their 11th or maybe 12th consecutive game away from home, which is absolutely absurd. Anytime you think of home and away, you think home crowd might play a factor, whatever the case may be is, but the Kings just don't seem phased by this. The final score on this one would be 4-0. Drew Doughty would kick things off in the first, getting his seventh goal this season from Byfield and Kopitar, 8 minutes and 13 seconds into the frame. Speaking of Byfield, he would then get his seventh goal this season, assisted by Kempe and Kopitar, with 2 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the frame. So it was 2-0 in favor of the Kings heading into the second. Byfield would then get his second goal of the game, his eighth of the season from Kopitar and Fiala, with 1 minute and 45 seconds remaining in that frame. And then Trevor Moore would, the game was already out of reach at this point, but Trevor Moore would then increase the lead to 4-0, getting his 13th of the season from Kevin Fiala and Drew Doughty. So with the victory, the Kings have now improved to 16, 4, and 3. And with the loss, the Habs are now 11, 12, and 3. Our next match takes place in Boston between two teams from the Atlantic Division. We have the Bruins playing host against the Buffalo Sabres. This is probably a bit of a shocker. 3-1 would be the final score, but would not be in favor of the Bruins. Paterka would kick things off in the second, so there are no goals in the first, getting his 11th of the season, 1 minute and 18 seconds into that frame, assisted by Dylan Cousins. Tage Thompson would then get his 7th goal of the year from Connor Clifton, and that goal happened with 3 minutes and 3 seconds to go in that frame. Brad Marchand would finally get the Bruins on the board, getting his 12th of the season from Hantus Lindholm, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. In the third, Olofsson would then increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 4th of the season with 8 minutes and 44 seconds to go in the frame. So 3-1 in favor of the Sabres. Who would have guessed in this matchup? With that, the Sabres are 11, 14, and 2, and despite the loss, the Bruins are still atop of that Atlantic Division at 18, 5, and 3. All right, next matchup takes place in Detroit, where we have yet another upset. So the Red Wings are playing extremely well, to say the least. They are sitting in the top 3 of that Atlantic Division, whereas the Sharks are at the bottom of that Pacific Division. But somehow the Sharks managed to pull off an upset. 6-5 would be the final score. It would take until overtime, so obviously both teams are guaranteed a point. And take a look at the goal scoring summary. So there's no scoring in this first. We have to jump all the way into the second. Roughly halfway into that frame, Klim Kostin would get his 2nd goal of the season, 9 minutes and 5 seconds into the frame. Rasmussen would then double up the lead to 2-0, getting his 4th of the season from Sprong. And that goal happened 12 minutes and 51 seconds into that frame. And not even 13 seconds after that, Rasmussen would then get his 2nd goal of the game, his 5th of the season from Sherratt and Kopp. Raymond would then give the Red Wings a 4-0 lead, getting his 9th of the season with 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the period. Hurdle would finally get the Sharks on the board. A short-handed goal with just under 6 minutes to go in the frame, his 8th of the season from Ekblad and Rutta. Zetterlund would then get a second short-handed goal on the same power play less than a minute after that, his 8th of the season from Rutta and Granlund. Sturm would then decrease the lead to 4-3, getting his 1st goal of the year, assisted by Vlasic and Burrows. And then Sturm would then get his 2nd goal of the game with 23 seconds remaining, assisted by Bailey and LeBanc. So it was all tied up at 4 heading into the third. Just the 2 goals to report in the third, and both by each team respectively. Dylan Larkin would get his 11th of the season from Raymond and Fabry with 6 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the frame. And then Hurdle would score with 1.5 minutes to go, getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 9th of the season, assisted by Granlund and Barbanov. In overtime, Granlund would get the overtime winner, his 3rd of the season, assisted by Zetterlund. So just to think that the Sharks were down 4-0 at one point, managed to not only tie up the game, but then go on to win it in overtime. So with the loss, the Red Wings are still 14, 7, and 4, which again, is still very respectable, especially if you're in that top 3 in your division. And despite the loss, the Sharks seem to be getting hot. They're beating teams no one would expect. They're 8, 17, and 2. All right, next matchup is a Battle of Ontario, where we have the Ottawa Senators. They are playing host to the Toronto Maple Leafs. final score on this one would be 4-3. Take a look at the goal scoring summary. Josh Norris would kick things off in the first, getting his 6th of the season, assisted by Chichurkin, with 26 seconds remaining in that frame. In the second, Marner would tie things up, 1 minute and 42 seconds, getting his 8th of the season, assisted by Riley and Brody. Camp would then give the Leafs a 2-1 lead, getting his 2nd goal of the game, with 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in that frame, assisted by Tavares and McCabe. Jump ahead to the third, Janmark would then increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 6th of the season from Domi and Robertson. Bernard Docker would get his 1st goal of the year for the Senators, 5 minutes and 14 seconds into that frame, assisted by Batherson and Stutzel. William Nylander, who is just playing out of this world, in my opinion, getting his 13th goal of the season from McCabe and Brody, with just under 7 minutes to go in that frame. And then Claude Giroux would then make it interesting. With 1 minute and 53 seconds to go, he would pot his 8th of the season from Sanderson, but unfortunately, the Sens were not able to tie it up after that. So with the victory, the Leafs are sitting at 13-6-4, and with a loss, the Senators now drop below 500, 10-11-0. Our next matchup takes place in the Metropolitan Division, where we have the New York Islanders. They are playing host to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Okay, so the final score on this one would be 7-3. Engvall would kick things off in the first, exactly 4 minutes in that frame, his 4th of the season from Dobson, so it was 1-0 in favor of the Islanders heading into the second. Bemstrom would then tie things up 5 minutes and 56 seconds into that period, his 4th of the season from Fantilli and Johnson. He would then get his, Fantilli would then get his 6th goal of the season to give the Blue Jackets a 2-1 lead, assisted by Johnson and Werenski. Clutterbuck would tie things up with 5 minutes and 30 seconds to go in that frame, assisted by Fasching and Cizikas. Barzal would then give the Islanders a 3-2 lead, getting his 8th goal of the season from Mayfield and Riley. Palmieri would then double up the lead to 4-2 with 41 seconds to go, getting a power play goal for the Islanders, his 7th of the season from Nelson and Barzal. So it's 4-2 in favor of the Islanders heading into the third. Fantilli would then get his 2nd goal of the game, his 7th of the season from Bemstrom to decrease the lead to 4-3, a minute and a half into that third period. Barzal would then increase the lead to 5-3, 5 minutes and 33 seconds into that frame, his 9th of the season from Bo Horvat. Speaking of Bo Horvat, he would then score the last 2 goals for the Islanders, 11 minutes and 31 seconds, and 20 seconds after that, getting his 8th and 9th goal respectively. Gauthier would score on his 1st goal, and Barzal and Bolduc would assist on the 2nd goal for Horvat. So with the victory, the Islanders are 11-7-7, and with the loss, the Blue Jackets are still at bottom of that division, 9-14-5. All right, next matchup takes place in DC, where we have the Washington Capitals, and they're playing host to the Dallas Stars. So we'll take a look at the goal scoring summary momentarily. So the final score on this one would be 5-4. He would take a shootout to decide the winner. In the first, Protas would kick things off at 7 minutes and 11 seconds into the frame, getting his 3rd of the season from McMichael and Jensen. Sagan would then tie things up with 3 minutes and 22 seconds to go, getting his 9th of the season from Steele and Heiskanen, so it was all tied up at 1 after 1. Strome would then get his 9th of the season, 4 minutes and 31 seconds into the second, assisted by Tom Wilson and Van Riemsdyk, giving the Capitals a 2-1 lead. Kuznetsov would then give the Capitals a 3-1 lead, getting his 5th of the season from Phillips and Protas, 7 minutes and 14 seconds into that frame. Marchman would then decrease the lead to 3-2, getting his 9th of the season from Duchesne, with 5 minutes and 41 seconds remaining in that frame. So it's 3-2 in favor of the Capitals heading into the third. Hintz would tie things up 1 minute and 51 seconds into the frame, a power play goal, getting his 9th of the season from Ben and Robertson. Strome then get his 2nd goal of the game, his 10th of the season, to give the Capitals a 4-3 lead, assisted by Mantha and Ovechkin, and that would be a power play goal, 9 minutes and 8 seconds into that frame. Hintz would then get his 2nd goal of the game, his 10th of the season from Robertson and Pavelski, with 6 minutes and 13 seconds remaining in that frame. Jason Robertson would pot the shootout winner, getting his 8th goal of the season, if you even count that as a goal. So the Stars would come back and get a 5-4 victory. With that, the Stars are sitting at 15-8-3, and with the loss, the Capitals are 12-8-3. All right, the next matchup takes place in Nashville, where we have the Predators, and they're playing against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the final score on this one would be, let's take a look here, 5-1 in favor of Nashville. Screen just have to reload my screen, so just hold on a second. Okay, so yeah, 5-1 in favor of the Predators. Take a look at the goal scoring summary. Bear Boulette would kick things off in the first 13 minutes and 32 seconds in that frame, getting his 5th of the season from Hagel and Cirelli. Parsonen would then tie things up with a power play goal with 2 minutes and 46 seconds remaining in the frame, his 5th of the season from Tomasino and Ryan McDonough. So it's all tied up at 1 heading into the second. Philip Forsberg would get a power play goal 2 minutes and 37 seconds into the frame, getting his 14th of the season from Josi and Nyquist. McDonough would get his first goal of the year for the Predators 4 minutes and 32 seconds into that second frame. So it's 3-1 in favor of the Predators heading into the third period. Josi would then increase the lead to 4-1, getting his 6th of the season from Smith. And then Trenin at 6 minutes and 11 seconds of that frame. And then Trenin, the game was already out of reach at that point. But he would then increase the lead to 5-1, getting his 6th of the season from Sherwood. 13 minutes and 13 seconds in that frame. So with the victory, the Predators are now 14-12-0. And with the loss, Tampa Bay are 12-11-5. Next matchup takes place in Chicago. We have the Blackhawks playing against the Anaheim Ducks. So a low-scoring affair, just one goal to report from that game. In the second, Khrushchev would get the lone goal, getting his 5th of the season from Connor Bedard and Tyler Johnson, a power play goal in 9 minutes and 21 seconds into that frame. So this is going to be a very quick recap. The Blackhawks are now 8-16-1, and with the loss, the Ducks are now 6 games below 500, 10-16-0. All right, the next matchup takes place in Arizona, where we have the Coyotes, and they're playing against the Philadelphia Flyers. The final score on this one would be 4-1. Konechny would kick things off in the first 10 minutes and 11 seconds into the frame, getting his 13th of the season from Sean Couturier. Farabee would then increase the lead to 2-0. 3 minutes and 7 seconds after Konechny opened up the scoring, getting his 9th of the season from getting his 9th of the season from Atkinson to Cam York. Krause would get the Coyotes' first and only goal of the game, getting his 11th of the season from Marcelli and Zucker. So it's 2-1 in favor of the Flyers heading into the second. Konechny would then get his second goal of the game, his 14th of the season from Lawton and Sealer. And in the third, Cam York would get his 4th goal of the year, 1 minute and 47 seconds into that frame, assisted by Sanheim and Delorier. And I should have mentioned too that when Konechny scored his second goal, that was actually a shorthanded goal. So the shorthanded goal seems to be very more common than uncommon, in my opinion. All right, so with that, the Flyers are now sitting at 14-10-2. And with the loss, the Coyotes are still above 500, 13-11-2. The next matchup takes place in Calgary, where we have the host Calgary Flames taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. So the Hurricanes coming off a tough loss in Edmonton, and a lot of teams, when they come out to this province, I guess you could say, they always tend to play either the Oilers the first night, the Calgary the next, or vice versa. So it's very common for this to happen, especially on back-to-back nights. The final score on this one would be 3-2. Nowitzki will kick things off in the first 2 minutes and 10 seconds into that frame, getting a 7th of the season from Slavin and Drury. Bunting would then increase the lead to 2-0, 8 minutes and 49 seconds into that frame, getting a 6th of the season from Orlov and Nietzsche. So it's 2-0 in favor of the Hurricanes after 1. There were no goals to report in the second, so you have to jump all the way to the third. Rasmus Anderson would finally get the Flames their first goal of the game, 5 minutes and 42 seconds into that frame, his 4th of the season from Coleman and Uyghur. Zary would then tie things up 7 minutes and 3 seconds into that frame, getting his 5th of the season from Zinka and Kadri. And then Blake Coleman would get a shorthanded goal 11 minutes and 44 seconds into that frame, his 7th of the season from Sharagovich. So with the victory, Calgary's now 2 games below 500, 11, 13, and 3. And with the Hurricanes' loss, they are 14, 11, and 1. All right. Now we're off to the Central Division, where we have the Colorado Avalanche, and they were playing host to the Winnipeg Jets. Let's see if I can get those teams up on here and figured out. So the final score on this one would be 4-2. Lowry would kick things off in the first, getting his 5th goal of the season from Johnson Fibji. And that goal happened with just about 3 seconds remaining in the period. So just imagine how close they were to having a scoreless first. And the second, just 32 seconds into that period, Kyle Connor would then increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 16th goal of the season from Ehlers and Morrissey. McKinnon would finally get the Avalanche on the board 2 minutes and 30 seconds into that frame, getting his 10th of the season from Taves and Melisinski. Morrissey would then increase the lead to 3-1 in favor of the Jets, getting his 5th goal this season from Sandberg and Niederreiter. Kiviranta would get his second goal of the season for the Colorado Avalanche, assisted by McKinnon and Byram, and jump ahead to the third with 36 seconds to go. Kyle Connor will get his 2nd goal of the game, his 17th of the year, and empty netter, so 4-2 is the final score. With that, the Jets are 15-8-2, and despite the loss, the Avalanche are 16-8-2, just 2 points ahead of the Jets. So that's a very close division, in my opinion. All right. 2 more games to cover from that Thursday night. Next one takes place in Vancouver, where we have the host Canucks, and they were playing against the Minnesota Wild. All right, so in the first, Hoglander would kick things off with just under 2 minutes remaining in that frame, 1:55 to be exact. His 9th of the season from Besser and Myers. And there were no goals to report in the second, and we jump ahead to the third, where Bluegar would increase the lead to 2-0 for the Canucks, getting a 2nd goal of the season from Garland and Joshua. So 2-0 would be the final score from Van City. With the victory, the Canucks are 17-9-1, and with the loss, the Wild are now 2 games below 500, 9-11-4. All right, and the last matchup from Thursday takes place in Seattle, where we have the Kraken, and they are playing host to the New Jersey Devils. Palat would kick things off in the first with 2 minutes and 46 seconds remaining in the frame, his 4th of the season from Moreno and Hischier. In the second, Cardle would tie things up, 7 minutes and 12 seconds in the frame, getting his 5th of the season from Wenberg and Berensky. And then Nemec would get his 1st goal as a member of the New Jersey Devils, assisted by Bratt and Singlehayther, and that would be the final score in this one. 2-1 is the final. With that, the Devils are 14-10-1, and with the loss, the Kraken are now 5 games below 500, 8-13-6. All right, that takes care of all of the action from Thursday night in the NHL. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. And as always, take care.